Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pregame coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
And good afternoon on this Saturday evening with a little bit of that fall weather, that crisp fall weather that has set in earlier this morning, and it got hot, and it's now football weather galore. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Darby Brown will join us in a moment from McLean Stadium, where tonight Baylor and Texas Tech will kick off at just after 7 o'clock. We'll take you up until about 6:30. Garrett Ross also is running the mothership. So Baylor and Tech tonight. We'll start with that. Then we'll update you on Big 12 scores, including what was a classic at the Cotton Bowl between both Texas and Oklahoma, with unbelievable momentum shifts in that game, and update the scores going on right now. Last year, Baylor went into Lubbock and hammered Tech 45-17. Both teams still need a win. Both got a little bit of help last week when they won. Paul Catalina, this, I think 3-3 rather than 2-4 is obvious. It's not just a one-game difference. It was like win-loss column. It's a two-game difference to me.
This is huge for either team. They're both in the same exact spot, and if you're 2-4, that means you have 2 games left of error to make a bowl game. And, you know, maybe your confidence is shaken. You got, like – and the other thing is you got to string together a couple wins in a row here if you're either one of these teams. If you're Baylor, if you're Texas Tech, like that's how you feel good about your season, not like occasionally finding one and having these moments in time where, oh, that was good, but then ultimately it just turns out poorly for you. If you want to have any kind of successful season, a season that you can build on, then you have to win today if you're Tech or Baylor.
Yeah, just to be clear for any Baylor fan, this is not Texas Tech Red. This is Red River, or this is not Texas Tech Scarlet. This is Red River Crimson is what this is. But, yeah, this is a big game for both teams. They're both coming off of really much-needed wins. This game, if both had lost last weekend, would have been like the poor me bowl. But instead, it's two teams who see the massive opportunity in front of them. They both know they can beat the other. They both know this is a chance to get a second win in a row, gain some momentum, head into the rest of the Big 12 schedule at 2-1, and with a couple of games, in a row of having won in conference play and be sitting kind of pretty, honestly. Whereas the alternative is you only won that one game and then you're back to your losing ways and you're under 500 and then you're under 500 in conference play as well. So one team's swinging forward above the zero line, so to speak. One team will dip back below it. Based on this result. And not that the one that dips below it can't recover, but, man, you sure have a nicer inside track if you get a big win in a rivalry game like this as well. So, yeah, this is an important one for both teams, and I think whoever leaves tonight with a W is going to feel really good about where they are all of a sudden nearing the midway point of this season.
If you don't win tonight, then you have to win twice to get back to 500, and then, again, like this, the schedule just catches up with you. We're going to go to the scores. We'll update you on Alabama and Texas A&M. They're putting on a heck of a game, and discuss Texas OU, and also Kansas right now is taking care of UCF, that game as well. And the game from last night in Stillwater that maybe raised a few eyebrows. Let's go to Darby Brown, KWTX. She is at McLean Stadium, as she is fantastic at giving us kind of the atmosphere and the feeling. And Darby, a little bit of that fall weather in the air.
Oh, you guys, it feels amazing out here. It's so awesome just to finally feel like football weather. I feel like it's giving me new energy. I can guess it's going to give the fans new energy, and hopefully the players as well. It's the first time we haven't showed up to McLean, and it's just been, steamy hot. Truly, it just feels like a world of a difference out here.
Darby, you were there on the sidelines last week when Baylor made that outstanding comeback. How do they carry that emotional momentum into this week against Tech?
Wow, yeah, what a game. I feel like it took me about halfway through the week to just kind of come down from just the shock of what happened in that game. And I bet it was kind of the same for the players, right? I mean, they kind of had to come back down to earth after a win like that. Now, hopefully they can use that as momentum into this game. I think as far as what they have to do exactly what they did at the end of that game. In that fourth quarter, they finally started playing some complimentary football, moving the tempo, just a bunch of things that was a whole different team out there. I mean, Blake Shapen was just really playing like a gamer, and we haven't seen him really play like that. We haven't seen a lot of things that we saw at the end of the game. So they got to try to mock everything they did at the end and take it into the beginning of this game.
Darby getting Blake Shapen back was obviously a big deal and a big part of why they were able to complete that comeback. I think the offense still needs to play, more than just a quarter and change. But what did you just sense from seeing him around and seeing how players reacted to him of the difference it made, just having that experience and that guy they know they can lean on?
Yeah, I think, obviously you saw it in the game. Like I mentioned, he kind of just took over there and you felt like, man, he is determined to win this game. And he was, thrown onto the dirt a bunch of times in that game, and he was just battling. And I think that gives the guys a lot of respect for him. And then just the biggest thing I would say is in the post-game interview, you just heard a different Blake Shapen up there. I mean, he was really just taking ownership of the team, taking pride in what they're doing, recognizing that they were not off to a good start this year, but that they had to kind of regroup here. And I think you just saw a different side of him that the guys can rally around. And it is good to see him back. And it's good to see him really stepping into the leadership role that, to be honest, we haven't really seen him totally own that yet at Baylor, I think, until last week.
I thought that the run at the end of the game that set up the game-winning field goal, or at least the go-ahead field goal, he got smoked at the end of that run, short of the first down, but showed a little bit of guts, showed a lot of guts. There was the play at the goal line against Texas Tech when he scored, and he took a shot there. We didn't see that a lot last year, and it kind of frustrated some people. Don't you think plays like that are also what helps players go, this is our guy?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, he has some guts, and he is tough. Like, he just is tough. It is what it is. You can't deny that. Whether they win or lose, when he does stuff like that, it gives people something to cheer for. And you could just tell, like, man, nothing's really going perfect, but he's willing to lay himself out there and just play and try to do everything he can. And so, yeah, that brings a lot of energy. And he just is sort of that guy when he starts to play like that. And so hopefully, obviously it's tough because we all know he's coming off of a knee injury. And, I don't know exactly how he's feeling. Obviously, they feel like he's good enough to play. But, as much as he can, you want to see him do stuff like that.
Darby, thank you. We'll talk to you again in about an hour or so. Thank you for your time at McLean Stadium. Darby Brown, KWTX-CW, with us on Game Day Live. Let's update some scores. First of all, in progress, Alabama leading Texas A&M 24-17. The Aggies have crossed into Alabama territory. That game right now, 3rd down and 6. The Aggies down right just a little bit past midfield. Kansas is drilling UCF. Not a surprise that Kansas is winning the game, but Kansas now is crushing UCF 37-8, and still 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Tonight, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU plays in Ames against Iowa State. And then what about in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl? The Red River rivalry, the Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it. I know that you have to be careful what you say, but that's what it is to me. An unbelievable game of momentum. Craig Smoak, a lifelong Oklahoma fan. Obviously, Paul, it was a game you and I started texting at the end. The drive that Dylan Gabriel put that team on his back, that last drive, was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, what a win. What a final chapter for the Red River in Big 12 history. I mean, it couldn't have gone out with a bigger bang than it did. Now, you know what? I think it's fitting that Oklahoma was the final victor, although there could be a round 2, just not at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, but at the Death Star in Arlington. That's entirely possible still. But, yeah, started off a little weird, right? And then, man, both teams just said, let's go. And, man, big plays, huge swings. And I'm a believer in what Brent Venables and them have going on. I've been hesitant to just go all in because of the level of competition and just unsure about some things. But not that I think they're going to go run the table now at this point. But, yeah, I believe in it's not that I didn't believe in the direction. I just didn't know how good they were just yet. Now I believe, they're pretty dang good. This defense is for real. Dylan Gabriel was an absolute stud. And for him to, make the big plays at the end was very fitting because, man, what a day. What a game. I mean, just another excellent chapter in Red River history. Disappointing, obviously, for Texas. We'll see how they rebound. But, I was at a loss earlier today. I didn't quite know what to say other than just kind of bask in the glow of, hey, I can breathe for the first time in about 3 hours, and it was a good breath at the end of that one.
I know how you feel. Florida State and Clemson was like that a couple weeks ago,
Yep.
And it just you enjoy it, but you don't. Like it's one of those things where you're. But it was one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. It was maybe the best game that I remember in that rivalry as far as. sometimes the close games in that rivalry are just both teams are playing crappy, and then it's like, oh, well, somebody, picked up a fumble and kicked a field goal with 9 seconds left, and that's how it ends. But this game was close because both teams were playing well through stretches. Oklahoma was opportunistic when they had to be, and I came away very impressed with what Brent Venables is doing and how he's coached him up. Dylan Gabriel is now in the Free Beer for Life Club in Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
He won't, if there is if he walks into a room and says Boomer and somebody says Sooner, he's on their tab, for the rest of his life, because he won that game with absolute grit and, didn't get rattled, really played intense. And, they, a minute and 16 seconds left or whatever it was, they got the ball back
Five
and
plays,
just
75 yards.
And just were surgical about it. Jeff Lebby's probably best moment as an offensive coordinator too.
Absolutely, because it looked like they got a little conservative, although they did go for it on 4th down in the game in the third quarter, failed. Texas took advantage of it. But Paxton, we feel for you too. We have a lot of UT fans that are on this channel and also Oklahoma fans, and I'm sure on Monday we'll see and hear from many more of them. One of the concerns about the way the game ended was how Texas still left about a minute 25 or whatever it was left in the clock when Oklahoma started that last drive, but they did get the field goal. I've not ever seen a Texas kicker miss a clutch field goal, and I can't remember when, no matter who it is, and Auburn drilled it, but Oklahoma with a drive to win the game and still had to knock down a pass at the goal line.
We were talking yesterday about Jatavian Sanders and Ryan Watson, and those guys possibly are likely being out. And I think, I made it pretty clear, Jatavian Sanders is a huge loss. Didn't know about Ryan Watts and how much of an impact that would have. I mean, it was going to have an impact, but to what extent? I think they clearly missed him more than Jatavian Sanders in that game based on the way that it unfolded. But yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance those two teams get another crack at each other. We got to circle back to the Big 12 and that result with K-State.
No, we're going to.
Kansas and UCF too. But I'm thrilled. I'm obviously very excited about that win and what it means, and looking forward to seeing for both teams how they maneuver through the rest of the way, and if we do in fact get a rematch there at the end.
All right, speaking of last night in Stillwater, we're going to hear, by the way, from both Dave Aranda and Joey Maguire. JJ Joe will join us, and we'll go back to Darby a little bit later on in our pregame show here on the CW. Last night, Oklahoma State, they've been on fumes, 29-21. They're now both 3-2 overall, 1-1 in the Big 12. Ollie Gordon had 136 yards rushing. He used to play at Trinity High School up in Euless. But here's a stat on Mike Gundy that I think it was Brett McMurphy. In Oklahoma State's win, the Cowboys have now pulled off the upset in 8 of the last 9 games as a home underdog under Mike Gundy.
Yeah, that's not surprising. It's a great home field advantage that they have there in Stillwater. It is loud. The fans do it right there. The students are fantastic each and every week. So it is intimidating to play there. And it got in K-State's head for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They completely were out of sync last night. Will Howard played terribly, especially by his standards. I mean, he's been really good, and he's a really good player, but it was his worst game last night. Chris Kleiman doubled down and bet on his team a couple times with some controversial decisions. And the team, look, I don't blame him for making them. He was trying to get some juice out of them and take the crowd out of it, and they did not respond. And so I'm not going to ever be a doubter in Chris Kleiman. I think he's one of the best coaches in the entire country, especially dealing with the players he has. He really structures his team well, and he bet big and lost last night a couple times.
Yeah, it's amazing to see just the wild emotional swings that teams can go through week to week based on results. You try to avoid that, but and I understand that within K-State country, there were probably a lot more discussions about their flaws and how they looked at various times. And, more on the outsider, you're not seeing maybe those flaws as in-depth under the microscope as fans of the team do. But, they were still rolling along. They'd had the loss to Missouri. And I think you still, in general, felt pretty good about where they were going. Maybe they didn't look the best they could, but you still felt okay. And after last night, I mean, all hell's breaking loose. Kleiman's not the guy. It's insanity. And I don't think there's really a massive Kleiman's not the guy, but there weren't a lot of questions about him, and now there are after last night because of those decisions you're talking about, Paul. Will Howard, you know what, man, he's going to be awesome. He's going to be great. And then last night he was not great at all. The running game, you thought, okay, Trayshawn Ward's coming back, and with what DJ Giddens has done recently, man, they're going to be awesome, and they didn't have much of an impact at all. I mean, Howard was their leading rusher. So I'm happy for Oklahoma State fans. It's been a really ugly, kind of weird start to the season. A lot of just questions about what exactly is going on and where it's headed. But Alan Bowman won the quarterback duel. Ollie Gordon, as you mentioned, had a huge game, and Oklahoma State made a bunch of big plays, and that crowd mattered. And so that's a huge, huge win for Gundy and Oklahoma State, and a really tough pill to swallow for the Wildcats.
Yeah, the defending champions now are a little bit shaky, although, again, 1-1 in the conference, plenty of games still to play.
Yeah.
Games in progress. We're just going to rattle off the scores. Paul's watching Florida State lead Virginia Tech with just started the fourth quarter, 32-17. Virginia Tech quarterback is Kyron Drones, who used to be at Baylor. Also in progress, Alabama leads A&M 24-17. They just had a reception and a fumble, and A&M is inside about the 40-yard line, I believe it is, at Alabama. And then North Carolina cruising past Syracuse 37-7, about to start the fourth quarter. And Washington State trails UCLA 25-17. That game is early on in the fourth quarter. It's been a pretty big defensive struggle.
Yeah, and UCF late in the third quarter trails Kansas 37-8, and A&M just got a field goal blocked.
And Alabama's going to run it back about 70 yards for a touchdown as we watch them cruise into the end zone, and that's with 9 minutes to go.
A&M, and maybe they don't feel confident doing it, but this is a Jimbo Fisher special here in that there's been a shift in coaching about like going for it in key spots on fourth down. Look, Oklahoma did it today, Brent Venables. So you take the risk that you're going to go for it. Yeah, Sark did too. Yeah. Those two guys did it. There have been a couple times here where it's like he doesn't realize he's playing Alabama and like you've got a shot to put them out of this thing.
Yeah.
And he just went like, okay, well the card in 1995 said we punt, so we punt.
No,
and that's what he's done here. There I think he should have gone for it.
The kick was blocked, but there's a penalty on the return, so Alabama's still up by just 7 as there was a blindside hit apparently on the block on the return. But yeah, this is a game where Alabama they can be gotten. And Texas got them. And then A&M at home, you thought, there's still time left, but that was a critical play right there.
And the other thing about this, Nick Saban is now able to coach the team like he did like 10 years ago, where he doesn't have to worry about like, fancy wide receivers and all that stuff all over the place. He can just kind of go old school. And guess what? It's friggin' working for them.
One other note, Garrett, the Oklahoma stat, winning the game 34-30 despite this. They allowed a punt block. They also allowed a fake punt. They illegal forward pass on a kick return, 26-yard punt with illegal formation, and, of course, a field goal that was not only right but short from 44 yards out by Schmidt. Normally, and I don't have the exact stats, but I remember a coach telling me, it's like 67% of the time you have a punt blocked, you lose the game. It's a devastating play. It's a colossal, catastrophic play, and Oklahoma still survived that. That's how Texas scored their first turnover, first points. And by the way, Texas had 3 turnovers, Ewers 2 picks, and also he lost a fumble.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a huge part of the game, winning the turnover battle 3-0 for Oklahoma. But yeah, I mean, there was wild swings, wild moments, and it was through all 3 phases, and an incredibly memorable game, not so fond of a memory for Texas fans, an all-timer of one for Oklahoma fans. But, I mean, that was Red River at its finest and craziest and most dramatic, and somebody had to win, and it was OU. And I do think that given this is the last Big 12 game, the way it is as a normal rivalry, that it is fitting because Oklahoma has had the upper hand, so it's kind of fitting. But, again, they could very well meet a second time, especially seeing what K-State's doing right now and, seeing some of the other results around college football. That could be an even bigger game the second time around. But, yeah, just what a win, and it's going to take a lot to unpack a lot of what we've seen over the last 24 hours, from last night's stunner for Oklahoma State to all that's going on today and still going on into the night.
A lot of games left, but what happened with that loss by Texas, they now have the one hickey. They still have the win against Alabama, but now they surely can't afford to slip up if they want to be a part of more than just a possible chance to win the last Big 12 title while they're there. Oklahoma now in the driver's seat. When we come back, we will hear from Garrett Ross around the corner on the keys to today's game, but also a few stats on Baylor. Texas Tech kickoff at just after 7 at McLean Stadium. And this is Game Day Live.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Central Texas Plumbing Solutions, and Centex Roof Systems.
When the sun rises over Central Texas, we know there's work to be done. So if you need to dig, haul, cut, lift, mow, or anything in between, your local Bobcat dealers in Waco and Temple have all the equipment you'll need to get the job done right. We sell, we rent, and we've got parts and service to keep you up and running, no matter where the job takes you. There's work to do. Let's get it done.
For over 40 years, Hope Pregnancy Centers has championed parents facing unplanned pregnancy with crucial life-affirming resources. We are looking for 350 donors at $30 monthly to provide over 2,000 free life-revealing ultrasounds to moms and dads when it's most critical. Your support of Hope shows every woman and unborn baby that they are valued and treasured by God.
Here's the history of Baylor and Texas Tech. And Baylor has won, as you'll know here in a little bit, 9 of the last 12 meetings. They've won 9 of the last 12. And they really had a lot of success when the game moved to AT&T Stadium and even up in Dallas even before that. They lead the series by 2, 41-39-1. The first meeting ever was in 1929, 34-0 Baylor. The last meeting last year in Lubbock, 45-17. Texas Tech at one point, and this is when Baylor was really struggling. They couldn't even get to bowl games. They won 15 straight against Baylor. And then the Baylor winning streak, the longest one they've ever had, was 1947 to 1960 when they won 11 straight games against Texas Tech.
Yeah, this was already a personal, long-time, historic rivalry between these two, and I think it got a little mustard added last year when he had Joey Maguire go and become head coach and come over from Baylor and bring a lot of the staffers over with him. And so, yeah, it's only, I think, had some gasoline added to the fire that already brews with this rivalry, and then you take into account the situations both walk into tonight, and I think all the ingredients are there for a very important game for both teams. But, that meeting last year was pretty stunning. Was not expecting Baylor to just roll into Lubbock and handle business the way that they did, but they did, and I'm sure that has hung with Joey Maguire and that staff. Not a focus of theirs, not like the entire, we're hung up on this, but yeah, I'd imagine when this game rolled back around, that was one that they're like, yeah, we'd like to get a little measure back for that one, and obviously that's what they anticipate doing tonight.
Yeah, this one, it's got sauce on it, especially since they've gone back to home and home. I think it's added a little flavor to it.
So much better.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Like, look, AT&T Stadium is great, and I love going there for any reason. It's a fantastic place. But for college football games, it just lacks the oomph unless it's the national championship game. And even then, it's probably not the same as the old way it used to be. So, yeah, I think it's better now that it's back home and home.
All right, so, again, Baylor and Texas Tech tonight. Kickoff at just after 7, about a mile from where we are, off of MLK, McLean Stadium up I-35. And Garrett Ross breaks down the keys to tonight's game.
What up, everybody? Welcome back into Game Day Live. I'm Garrett Ross with today's Keys to the Game presented by Richard Car Motors. Our first key today is play with confidence. I think last week, if you look at the just simply remarkable comeback that Baylor was able to put together in Orlando against UCF, it was really all about confidence. And I think that really started with Blake Shapen. The caliber of energy, just the mindset and the willfulness not to lose and put the team on his back really led to what Baylor was able to accomplish last week. I think they were able to play with a sense of urgency. They looked comfortable. You were able to finally get your playmakers involved. And when you were doing that, you got a lot of success on the field, which in turn led to confidence and just really led to you pulling back and putting together the largest comeback in program history. I think if Baylor wants any hope of being able to put back-to-back wins together, they have to come out confident. They got to bring that same energy and apply that to the start of the game against Texas Tech, or else it's probably going to fall apart like they have done for the first part of the season. I like where Baylor's at right now. I think they showed a lot of grit last week, and just the level of confidence that they played with, if they can put that together consistently, is going to take this team to the next level, and it's going to be the only chance they have to make it to a bowl this season. Our second key to the game is definitely going to be find hidden points. I think if you look back at Baylor's success in 2021, what really separated that team, other than just the playmakers they had a lot of dogs on there, but their ability to find the hidden points, whether it was in the return game with Ebner, punts, kicks, taking those to the house, whether it was JT Woods coming up with those important pick sixes, just guys, Terrell Bernard, Petrie in general, just creating fumbles, and Baylor able to get that, capitalize on it. I think those were things that this team has really missed, and we haven't seen that at all until last week when Caden Jenkins came up with 2 big plays in Orlando. First, he had the interception, which you see here, and he also had the scoop and score. And if he doesn't make either one of those plays, especially that scoop and score, Baylor does not win that game. I think they have to find a way to get more guys involved. Maybe some of these young players, Corey Gordon and people who have flashed before, come out, create more big plays like that, but you've got to generate those hidden points. Your offense can only do so much. And we've seen Baylor's offense in general struggle this season. While they do look better with Blake Shapen, points are at a limited service with this team. So you got to be able to help your offense and find those hidden points. I don't care if it's like a bad snap, a safety, anything like that. You've got to create hidden points to help your offense. If Baylor can do that, I think they're going to be really successful, and they have a good opportunity to knock off Texas Tech on Saturday night at McLean Stadium. The last thing we have for our keys is going to be stop the run. If you look at Texas Tech, they've really struggled on offense in the passing game. I know Tyler Shuck went down, and he's done for the year, which brings in Baron Morton. And we've seen some flashes from Baron Morton. I think he's going to be really good in the future. I have a lot of high hopes for that kid. But at the same time, he's young. He's raw. We've seen it with Sawyer Robertson when he came in this year. There's just things that young guys can't do that you do in once you get older, once you're elder statesmen, have more reps under your belt. I think Baron Morton is really struggling to pass the ball right now, and it's going to come. He's going to get better. He's got a lot of playmakers out there, whether it's Brantley or Baylor Cupp at your tight end position. But right now, what Texas Tech is doing and what they're predicating themselves on their offense is the rushing attack, and that really starts with Taj Brooks. Last week, if you look, they had 2 100-yard rushers in that game, which helped lead them. And I think you're going to see a lot of that this week as well. Joey Maguire spoke earlier this week on the importance of capitalizing on their rushing attack and relying on their offensive line. Baylor has struggled with this all year long. Just look at the first play of scrimmage last week in Orlando. UCF was able to make a house call from 70-something yards out and take the lead. Baylor has struggled all year defending the run. They have got to fix that. They have got to capitalize on it. And if they want any hopes of coming away victorious on Saturday night, they have got to stop Taj Brooks, and they have got to stop the Texas Tech rushing attack. If they can do that, and they put together the other 2 keys that go with this, I think Baylor can get the win, but it's something they definitely have to put a point of emphasis on. That's going to do it for our keys to the game this week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Game Day Live right after this.
Crafted for comfort, crafted for style, crafted to last. Fall is the time of year when we get cozy and comfortable. During Du Bois Furniture's Fall Savings Event, save store-wide, plus secret in-store discounts, plus special financing at Du Bois Furniture.
I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Is the Jeep not starting?
Token, can you please come help?
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Call Tow King 24 hours a day for all your emergency roadside needs.
Home Place Interiors. From designer drapes to custom total installation, quality area rugs to a wide selection of floor covering, Home Place Interiors has you covered. With over 40 years of experience, you can trust John Proctor and his knowledgeable staff to help you with your next home project. Home Place Interiors, where we do business the old-fashioned way, on a handshake.
Fall is that time of year when we get cozy and comfortable. Now, during Du Bois Furniture's Fall Mattress Savings Event, improve the way you sleep on a new Tempur-Pedic or Sealy mattress. Plus, get special financing only at Du Bois Furniture.
Baylor color analyst, former Baylor quarterback J.J. Joe.
JJ, having Blake Shapen back obviously was huge. It took until the very end of the game for the offense to spark, to take advantage of their opportunities. How did they keep the fourth quarter going, not only into next week, but the weeks after?
You know, I think I wrote this for you guys last week. I mean, ultimately it comes down to players just deciding, you know, like, guys, there's no way we've gone from a lot of us being on a championship team 2 years ago to, you know, about to go to 1-4 and hadn't won a game against a decent FBS opponent in, man, 8 or 9 games. So, and you saw it. I think you saw Blake come back. That was a huge help. Now, he wasn't a savior, although it looked like it, but I think Blake provided another dimension that you know, Sawyer was just not ready to provide yet. And then he provided some toughness. I mean, I knew Baylor would win. After, I think we were still down 11. Baylor scored. I think Blake threw a pass, maybe a 2-point or a touchdown, and he went to the sideline and you saw it. I mean, he pumped it, and then he just went inside. He punched there, and he was kind of like, y'all come with me, right? And I think that changed the whole tenor of the last part of that game. So, fantastic outing. It was good to see the players make a decision to put themselves in position to win, and things had to go their way, and they did.
J.J. Joe with us on 365 Sports. How much of this carries over, or is it just they won and they can, you know, go right back in the hole of what has been the problem?
Yeah, you can go back real fast, but I think the belief, and I'll say this, Smoak, although Blake is not a savior, I mentioned this last year. I said people were, you know, kind of saying, hey, well, he's not the quarterback. And I was like, dude, it's a first-year starter. It just doesn't feel like he was a first-year starter, but he really was. And I said, give him a year. Just give him a year. He's got to go through the roller coaster of being a D1 quarterback with everybody saying, hey, how great you are one week, how terrible you are the next week, and they like the backup more than they like you. And he's gone through it, and I think he's on the other side now. He's on the other side where he provides some belief to the teammates. They believe, like, shoot, with Blake back, that we think we can we're in any game. But it still comes down to the detail. I mean, the defense has to set edges, man. We got to cover. We got to tackle. We just can't give up the kind of yardage and plays that we're giving up and think we're going to win on a consistent basis. You just can't do it.
JJ, they did not have an energy play all year long until the fumble recovery. I mean, but it seems to have buoyed their confidence, especially the way you're hearing them all talk after the game. How big are those things for teams to get those at points during the season? Because through the first 4, they just did not have a scoop and score, anything like that you would say would ignite the emotions of a team.
Yeah, I mean those non-offensive TDs, man, are huge because it get you still a possession. And you got to think about it. I mean, that dog on Caden Jenkins. I don't know. We need to find some NIL or something for that kid. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you right now. I think we lost Tevin, and I love Tevin Williams too. He's been out. He came back. He played a solid game. But I said, I don't know. He's just told coaches Caden Jenkins that he needs to start and he needs to be on the field, and unless his oxygen level gets too low, he just seems to make plays. He seems like the moment is never too big for him. He made the pick. It was a terrible pass by the quarterback, but he made the pick. That team was about to score at least a field goal again. He stopped that one with just making the catch. And then the scoop and score, he's in the right place at the right time. And those non-offensive touchdowns, that really solidified to me that Baylor's going to find a way to win this game. When he scored, I was like, okay, we're still down, I think, 2, but we'll get the ball and we'll win. But that's huge. The energy changed. They felt like, oh, my good, here we go again. And Baylor felt like, you know what, they let us get this close. Let's finish this deal. So it's huge for the team to kind of get that extra boost when you really need it.
Speaking of players making plays, JJ, one of the guys coming into the season a lot of people had high expectations for was Monterey Baldwin. Is that more of what you expected yourself when it came to what he meant to this offense, to this team, and how he could spark them?
Yeah, and I know it's a combination of things. I always say that I'm not out on the field and in the locker room and in the coaches' meetings and all that, but that kid has something that no one else on our team has. And he has the ability to run 23.2 miles per hour, and very few can do it. You have to use it. You have to convince him that you need him. And I really believe for some players, just be ready so you have to get ready works. I think for Monterey, and I don't know it, I'm going off my guess after watching him for most of the season, watching the first part of the season when he was really non-existent, is that you have to tell him exactly what you need from him, why you need it, and how you're going to use it. Someone has to. It could be Blake. But somebody has to. And he has something that no one else has, and it is actually the coach's job. That's why they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. To get a guy like that who's coming to practice every day, who has the talent, you got to use him. You got to figure out how to use him. And they did on Saturday. And he, like Coach said, I think I heard Coach said he seemed like he's playing for something bigger than himself, and I think he was. And you can see, if you get him involved, he changes the way defenses have to defend you. That helps everybody.
Yeah, and I brought this up to Dave Aranda in the interview today about how his high school coach said that Monterey was part of this problem early in the year, that he had some things he had to get through. So that was kind of good clarification from that end, and Aranda answered that earlier today. What I also, when people asked about, they got to go, you got to get rid of this, you got to get, what I want to see is, does a team play hard for a coach? There was every reason that team could have quit at any time, really. It run 8 plays down 21-0. Is that something, JJ, that matters to you, that we obviously saw a team that did not quit on their coach?
Yeah, I think they really like Coach Aranda. I do. I mean, I think he's an easy coach to really like. I mean, he's going to be clear with you. He's going to be clear cut. He's going to try to make sure that he makes the environment good for you. But he's going to challenge you. I think he challenges these guys. He just goes about it a different way. And not saying he's a player's coach. I think he's a tough coach. But I think, ultimately, I think for Coach Aranda, his personality is such that he just has to have the right staff mix around him. Or it could be player mix. I thought in 21 they had the right player mix and staff mix. It was just a wonderful marriage. This year, I think they're trying to find that mix from a coach and then also a player standpoint. What do we have to do to generate that level of energy? And even Coach Aranda on Saturday, I mean, he showed more energy, emotion than I've seen him show probably even in the times we won the Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl.
As we let you go here, what are your expectations when it comes to Texas Tech this weekend?
Hey, enjoyed Orlando, and I expect this thing to roll a little bit, man. I mean, Orlando was great. UCF was great. The environment there, man, is sweet. I mean, I like they had a big party going on. I think this thing rolls over to Tech. Tech's reeling a little bit. They think they're working on the backup quarterback. We have Blake back. Hate that we lost Mike Smith, but I'm looking for these guys. I think they believe something now, and that's a big thing for a team. They believe something. Now they got to do is go out and on defense, just play just a tad bit more clean, and I think they'll get another dub.
JJ, thank you very much. Appreciate your time every Monday around 4:45. Former Baylor quarterback and color analyst for Baylor Radio joining us.
Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Hail damage to your roof can be costly to your home, so why not protect yourself now? Get your roof repaired or replaced by Central Texas's most trusted roofer, Centex Roof Systems. Our team will evaluate your damage and get you a quote fast so we can repair your roof quickly and efficiently. After the storm, call the name you can trust. Call Centex Roof Systems today for your quote or visit us online at centexrs.com. Your hometown roofer, Centex Roof Systems. God bless Texas.
At Dr. Smiley, you're always our top priority. Dr. Lee, Dr. Lim, and the friendly staff are committed to delivering exceptional and professional care in general, family, cosmetic, and emergency dental services. Get $2,699 implant, abutment, crown, 3D CBCT scan, and consultation with IV sedation available. Dr. Smiley accepts Medicaid and most dental insurance. Call Dr. Smiley today at 254-732-2606 and book your appointment now.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
KWTX Skycam Network, sponsored by Ray Broker Air Conditioning.
Texas Tech football coach Joey Maguire with me, David Smoak on 365 Sports. You have 3 losses. It's by a combined of what I think is like 15 points or so, 17 points. And you know, you're hit and miss in some ways, but I was looking at your offensive stats, and everything seems to be on the uptick against last year as far as analytics. Let's start with that. What do you think is missing right now?
I think offensively, the turnovers really got us early. You go to the Wyoming game, we gave up. We were driving the ball and had a big turnover. The Oregon game, we were up 9, just blocked a punt, fixed to go up, whether it be, 12 or 16, and we throw it right back to Oregon. And so, it just really, if you look at last year's passing game, this year's passing game, and we have been off, and really off whenever you go to the West Virginia game. The one thing that is going right is Taj Brooks and that offensive line. We've been able to run the football and really lean on him, and had 2 100-yard rushers last week, and we really need that to carry over.
Joey, is this week against Baylor awkward, or did last year playing the game and they won at the end pretty decisively?
Yeah.
Does that help that last year's game was played? I know you don't like the result. Is this still kind of awkward?
It's emotional. I loved my time at Baylor. I love the people at Baylor. I'm not where I'm at without, Baylor University. And so, first time back in McLean, only been on that sideline whenever it was during the spring games because the defense was always over there with Rule and Aranda. So I think we're still a year away from, but I think it always will be, man. I have special memories. I have great friends on that staff. I don't know if I know there's a lot of people happy about that win last week, but man, I was ecstatic that Baylor came back and beat UCF because, I'm great friends with some of those guys, and we're both teams are kind of going through it. Both teams have been banged up. Both teams have lost games. If you look from the outside in, we shouldn't have lost, and so I totally feel and understand what those guys are going through, and they're some real good friends of mine. And so, man, it's going back for the very first time to Waco. Is going to be it's going to be great. I have so many great memories in that stadium, but it's going to be emotional. And then you're still for the most part. You've got that class of 18 that's still there. The T.J. Franklins, the Gabe Halls, the Matt Joneses, the guys like that are, I was around those guys a lot. They were over at the house. They played with Garrett. And so still seeing a lot of familiar faces on the field making plays. So still a little bit a ways away from that, too.
Sometimes rivalries are based on regionality, conference, or just long-time series, dramatic games, upsets, etc. Are you both, you would think, Tech and also Baylor, also in not a turf war, that sounds negative, but kind of in a fight for the same type of players?
Yeah, whenever you're looking at really the new Big 12, and everybody as a whole is trying to establish herself, as the upper echelon of the teams, and then you're recruiting the state of Texas, with my background of Dallas-Fort Worth and the proximity of Dallas-Fort Worth to Waco, you're recruiting a lot of the same guys. We've gone heavier into Houston the last 2 years, and again, Baylor being in Central Texas, it's easy to get to, from Houston. So you're going, when you're recruiting the state of Texas as heavy as we both do, you're going for a lot of the same guys, in the recruiting wars.
How much does last year's game in Lubbock, when Baylor won, have any impact whatsoever, if at all, Saturday night?
Well, I think you go back to that game. We did a good job early, but late, they really were able to run the football. And so I think we've got to do a good job of, I don't know, it's hard to stop Baylor's rushing attack, but, do a good job of, containing the run. And then they did a good job on defense, a really good job. I thought it was probably the best game plan that we played last year when we played Baylor. And I think we grew off of it. I think it definitely helped us whenever we played Oregon, to be more effective on offense. And so I think now we've got to do a good job of, we didn't play very well on offense last year. We didn't keep the defense off the field enough. We didn't keep us in the game, enough. And so I think it's important that we go out and try to take advantage. We've been running the football really effective, so we want to continue running the football, but we've got to take advantage of being able to throw the football too. And that was something that they did a great job of taking away from us last year.
Last question. The game in Dallas this week is Texas and Oklahoma. They both seem to be rolling pretty well. This is the last year for them. And so people are waiting on who's going to step up and be the team or programs that lead the way in the Big 12. How important, I know the Oregon lost it, Baylor lost to Utah, they got thumped by Texas. How important is it for the Big 12 of the schools coming back and the incoming schools from the Pac-12 start to pick up some nice wins?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Number one, you're bringing in a really good Utah team, that is and has traditionally played extremely well, and especially of late, playing in the Rose Bowl and doing so many great things. But I think it's important right now. I would probably say the leaders right now, if you're talking about just coming off of last year going into this year, even though they lost a tough game, is TCU and K-State. Those are the two teams that played in the Big 12 championship. They played in New Year's Six bowl games and in the playoffs. And so I think those are the two teams that, if you're saying who's leading the new Big 12 right now, but got an opportunity. There's a lot of season left, and there's going to be some teams step up and go into the last part of this Big 12 season, putting ourselves in good position.
Joey, thank you, man. Always appreciate you, and good luck this week, and also good luck the rest of the way. Always appreciate the fact you give me the access you do, and we appreciate your time.
You bet, man. Thank you.
So Joey Maguire, head football coach at Texas Tech on 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night at Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue at Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room at Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust at Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
And Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott will invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533, Chuck Verno at 720 North 64th Street, Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, Your Bank for Life, 3 Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, we're closing in on an hour, a little more than an hour before Baylor and Texas Tech kick off at McLean Stadium. An update in the Big 12. Kansas 44, UCF 22. UCF was down 37 to, I think, 9 in that game, and they've 37-8. Does that remind you of almost a score from a week ago? They put up a couple of touchdowns, but Kansas also added one. 44-22, 5.5 minutes left in that game in Lawrence, and Alabama and Texas A&M. That game got close, really close. It's 26-20. Alabama, minute 36 to go, trying to run out the clock a little bit inside A&M territory.
It's not surprising UCF had a little bit of a hangover, but I wasn't expecting like that. I mean, that was a tough loss last week to Baylor and all that came with that. But, man, what a statement for Kansas potentially, and a good sign for them, especially, given that there's uncertainty in Jalen Daniels and how all that's going to work and, what his health is going to be moving forward. And so big win for Kansas to overcome all of that. And, with UCF, I mean, welcome to the Big 12. I mean, that's a whole part of this is just the ramp up in competition. I know there was a thought that they'd pretty, easily transition, but I think we've seen with all 4 teams, there's been levels to, the difficulty. And so I think that's what UCF's running into right now. Just really bad timing, giving up the loss to Baylor, the contract extension for Malzahn, and then you turn around and you have this type of a game. It's like you could not have sandwiched a worse couple weekends around your contract announcement than what Gus Malzahn's had this week.
Again, that was signed a long time ago, but It wasn't released until they put out the USA Today salaries, and I think they wanted to make sure that everyone knew where Malzahn was, well above what they reported at $2.5 million, and now at $4 million. We're now joined by Darby Brown, KWTX in the CW. She's at McLean Stadium, and it's starting an hour away from kickoff. Darby, do you kind of feel the anticipation now a little bit closer to kickoff?
Yeah, some fans have started to make their way inside the stadium, and I can tell you there's definitely a lot of people wearing red, which I think you expect when Texas Tech comes to town. Definitely a lot of fans still filing in. I've seen the traffic picking up, and so fans are still making their way in, but I think it's going to be a good show down here. It's just going to be a little bit of an even crowd, I would say, or not totally even. But there was going to be some Tech fans, no doubt.
Darby, can Baylor actually start fast in this game?
Man, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think if they, again, I kind of said earlier, but if they can knock what they did at the end of the game to start right away, that's how they start fast, and that's how they play fast. I don't even know if we had seen them play fast, period, at all until that game. So I think if they can kind of lock some of that stuff with the tempo, that's how they do it. The question is obviously if they will do it. But you really would hope, coming off of that type of win, that would carry into what happens here, finally on their own turf as well.
All right, Darby, the UCF is getting beat up at Kansas 44-22. They were down at 1.29, and there's like 5 minutes left, so it obviously a hangover for them. With Baylor, did you notice anything this week with the media availability that they have? Anything in particular that you noticed, or is it pretty much just status quo?
I think there is a little bit of kind of not picking yourself back up. Obviously, that's more what UCF had to do, but just kind of bringing yourself back down to earth a little bit. That, okay, that's what happened last week. We got to move forward. And I think they showed signs of that. They hadn't fully done that, at least when I talked to them on Tuesday, which I think is okay. I think you kind of want to take some of that. We just did that. We got the confidence from what we did. But then at a certain point this week, they'd have to shift it of like, all right, well, we got to kind of flush it because now we got to start fresh here. And so when I talked to them, I don't know if they had done that, which I think is understandable. But at this point, it's different.
Darby, as always, great job. I know you got other things you got to do as well. Thank you so much. It's fantastic to have you a part of our pregame every time we can. So we'll see you tonight at the stadium here in about an hour. Darby Brown, KWTX and the CW with us from McLean Stadium. Last week she was at the Bounce House. Paul was at the Bounce House. That was Josh Young and I, the general manager, CEO of what is KWTX. We traded text messages after that game or after our pregame, and it was so good to have a couple of different people, two different locations, and Darby inside the stadium and Paul out with all the tailgaters doing his thing as you did.
And look, if you're a local business in a place where Baylor has a road game and like to sponsor us, look, we'll throw a party. We did in Orlando. We'll do it in wherever you want to do. You just give us a call. We'll make it happen for you.
All right, Jalen Milroe, that's a final 26-20 Alabama, 321 yards. He threw one pick but threw 3 touchdowns in Alabama. Defense got after A&M. But it still went right down to the wire. It looked like Aniyah Smith had scored. They ended up settling for a field goal and then Alabama recovered the onside kick.
Tough loss for A&M. You had a couple of opportunities here to potentially change this outcome, and Aniyah Smith play there at the end is certainly one of those that could have helped make maybe a little bit of it. But good for Jalen Milroe, for all the criticism and just the angst over him, especially early in the year, especially after that Texas loss. I mean, he's a young player that's still developing, right? And he's got some good skills. He's not necessarily going to be, Peyton Manning or something, but he's Alabama good. That's for dang sure. He's SEC good, and good for him to have a performance like that. And Alabama's just rolling along. It's just not the way we've necessarily come to expect the last few years, but it's working.
The SEC West is theirs for the taking now.
Yeah.
Like whoever won this game was going to be in the driver's seat in that part of the conference. Like everybody in that part of the conference has a loss, so the CFP is going to take a hurdle. But again, Alabama always gets a mulligan, and the team that beat them just lost today.
Yep.
So. If things
LSU,
work out for them.
If LSU would have lost at Missouri, you have a 2-game lead, or really in the division, really over everybody. You've beaten Ole Miss, you've beaten A&M, and you also, of course, would be 2 ahead of LSU, who you still play down the road.
And a double whammy for A&M in that you got to watch Red River and probably talk some trash online or to your buddy or whatever, and then a few hours later, your turn.
Yeah.
Here comes Alabama to beat you too and ruin your day. So, double whammy in that way for A&M that you can't really enjoy the Texas loss as much as you might have liked because you got to now eat one of your own.
All right. A lot of you are also on the chat room. We appreciate it. We will be back, of course. It will be our live show on Monday. Paul with Triple Option at 1, and then we'll be back on with the afternoon show 3 to 6. But we're not done. Had a chance to visit with Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach. We'll also update the scores. One of the game is 2 of the games final. UCLA did beat Washington State. I missed that one. And North Carolina hammered Syracuse. That's not a surprise to me. And Florida State, Paul, is it over? 39.
Yep, 39-17.
17, the Noles roll. past Kyron Drones and Virginia Tech.
UCLA going to be the only game that I win this week, unless Texas Tech beats Baylor. But you know what? I don't know. All these are toss-up games, and I think it's played out that way on the final results. But yeah, really good win there for the Bruins.
Yeah. By the way, Kyron Drones, just for Baylor fans, really played tough today. Like, he had some big plays. Obviously his team around him isn't as good as the one he was playing, but I came away impressed. I mean, he made some big plays, especially running the ball.
He was highly rated for a reason. I mean, he wasn't a 5-star, but he was a pretty highly rated guy, had some good offers. Obviously, Virginia Tech's a pretty good landing spot after you leave Baylor, so don't know who all else was interested, but I think he's growing up, and I think he's showing his skill set, and it just wasn't going to be a situation where he'd have that opportunity at Baylor as quickly as he has it out in Blacksburg, and so good to see him taking full advantage of that.
There are a lot of you on the chat room. Carmelo's an Oklahoma fan, I believe. He's talking about the 5 sacks the Sooners had on Quinn Ewers, who also threw 2 picks and had a fumble. Alabama's defense, I thought, cranked it up to me today with more pressure. A&M's defense played really well, too. And then Camelo is a big Oklahoma fan. Boomer Sooner. See you all on Monday. And Jim, the heat is officially on for Jimbo.
Yeah, look, this was the swing game of where if he beats Alabama, everybody's going to back off him and go, okay, this Bobby Petrino thing is working and all that. But this was a Jimbo special here where there are times during the game where you have to make aggressive decisions, and he's so conservative. Like, he just can't get over that hump and be aggressive, even with what he's got skill position-wise. He doesn't trust his guys enough. He trusts the old ways too much, and I think that's clearly what's getting him burned, and I wonder how that narrative will go now.
Wet Blankets, Oklahoma State team won. Congratulations.
Hey, big win, Wet Blanket. I mean, that was a really good win for Gundy and crew.
It really was. Surprised me when you kind of gave me some updates while we're doing that high school game.
Oh, yeah.
Paul's team won today.
See the K-State score? You see the K-State score, and then K-State tried to make it interesting there at the end. But, yeah, good win for the Cowboys. Sorry.
Paul's Florida State Seminoles won. Craig's OU Sooners won. Nebraska winning last night 20-7 in a game where they opened up with 4 plays in a row inside the 1 yard line of the goal line stand.
And LSU won.
LSU for Garrett.
Yeah.
And
4 for 4 here.
And their defense was just good enough. Had a pick 6 at the end to seal the game against Missouri. When we come back, the conversation with Baylor football coach Dave Aranda after the exhilarating, scintillating comeback. And now that does not cover up the warts. How many of those will disappear for the game against Tech? That's next. This is Game Day Live.
Game Day Live, sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Central Texas Plumbing Solutions, and Centex Roof Systems.
In Waco, Texas, we value education. We're proud of Baylor University, McLennan Community College, and TSTC. At Jeff Hunter Toyota, we share these Waco values. It's how we serve our customers better and provide the highest quality service. In Waco, this is who we are. And this is what we drive. Shop Jeff Hunter Toyota. Toyota quality, Waco values.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to help other people be able to smile and be healthy and improve their quality of life.
When I came in, I had no teeth from here back because the bridge came off.
We were able to use dental implants, commonly referred to as a smile in a day, and literally take out the bad teeth and put in the new permanent teeth all in one day.
It looks natural to me. I don't feel guarded now. I'm enjoying my teeth.
Hey folks, Derek Scott here with Jim Turner Chevrolet. I would like to thank everyone that supports the JTC family and let you know that our family values your business. Our new inventory is growing daily and used inventory is stacking high. So come find new roads at Jim Turner Chevrolet and give us the opportunity to earn your business with transparency and zero hidden fees. So give us a call, 840-3261 or 24/7 at turnerchevy.com. And remember folks, we're just a heartbeat away in McGregor. We'll treat you like family.
Baylor football coach Dave Aranda with me, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So I'm watching that thing go down, and I'm like, how am I going to handle this with Coach Aranda on Monday? 21-0, 28-7, 35-7. How did you keep belief? How do you as a coach keep belief that you could come back from such a deficit?
Appreciate that. It was every play we'd have, 9 guys do the right thing, 2 guys do the wrong thing, 10 guys do the right thing, 1 guy do the wrong thing. And you could just see that we weren't ourselves. And so it wasn't so much that. It was like, let's just be us. And, we keep saying this practice thing to the game thing, and it's happening again. And then it just gets to be where it's... you want to put your fist up to the air and just yell out like a primal scream. It gets to that point where it's like, dude, come on. And so just, not doing that, but trying to continue to get guys to settle down and see what they see and get their eyes on their keys and go through their progressions and slow it down, and so we just kept, there's 8 guys doing the right thing, then there's 9 guys, then there's 10 guys, and at the end we're able to get 11.
You, at the end of the game, in the post game, I believe you said you were happy for the players, for the coaches, for Baylor Athletics. You didn't say for Dave Aranda.
Right.
Why not?
I feel empty, we on Sundays we have a family dinner, so we have the coaches' families, their kids. We have a fair amount of young coaches, so there's just babies everywhere up here. And then we have all of our different departments are still here, so recruiting and everyone's here. So we all meet in this players' lounge, and there's food and everything. And so this was after the Texas game. The families are coming up, and I'm walking to greet them. And as I walk to greet them, a couple of them had put their eyes down and then brought their eyes back up. So that just makes me feel horrible, And so I'm thankful for the win for them.
After the LSU National Championship, you had some sort of a quote that said you were empty. You're like, is this all there is to it, or is this it? And that you wanted something new. Are you enjoying this?
I am, yeah. I look at like a Monterey Baldwin. I look at, I look at the growth with Monterey, and he is a transformed person, and he's a transformed player. And, talking to our coaches, in order for us to teach them, we have to reach them, man, and that's a lot of work. And, but it means everything, and that's the most important thing. And you look at like a Matt Jones and just the 2 games that he's put in back-to-back, and this game in particular is an amazing game, and he's just getting better and better and better. And so there's just guys that have just totally just transformed their lives and just their way of doing things, and it's just so cool. And so seeing that is really cool. It helps that you win.
The high school coach at Shoemakers, Toby Foreman, Coach, and I sent him a text a couple of hours after the game that said it was great to see Monterey produce and play. And he said, well, the reason he hasn't been was Monterey's fault. And you had kind of brought up some immaturity factor or whatever. What has he done differently? And by the way, he also said, Toby said, and I love the way Dave Aranda handles his football team and what he demands from the players.
I appreciate that. I give Dallas Baker has been amazing, and he continues to be. I just, if my son Ronan were to play and he plays receiver, I would want him to play for Dallas. But I think with Monterey, you end up having to make a decision. You have to make the decision and I think what we can do as coaches is accept you as you are and love you as you are. And then I think you have to believe that. And then once you believe that, then it's crazy how once that happens, there's a willingness to change once you're kind of accepted. And I think that happened. And usually you have to go down before you go up. And that's been the journey with Monterey, and that's been the journey with a few other folks, and myself included. And so I just think that guys sticking together while we're doing all that is usually the things that you remember when all of this is kind of long gone.
You lost your voice?
Yeah.
Is that from trying to scream all your way back from 35-7, or just sometimes it's going to happen 2 or 3 times in the year?
No, I thought there's fight throughout. We blocked the field goal, and there's those are the things. I think at the end of the game, it's cool to see. But when you're fighting, when it's just you and there's no one else, that's when it's pretty cool.
Blake Shapen, I thought everyone can look at everything he did. One, get back on the field, but there was the run at the end of the game that was on 3rd and 7, and he got smashed from both sides. I'm surprised he didn't cop up the football. There was the run, I think, against Texas State when he got smashed, and that's maybe not what he would have done last year. You've brought up the leadership throughout the offseason. How much of a difference does he make?
It's huge. Yeah, he spoke to the team Friday night, and so we have a team meeting Friday night, and he spoke and was just really strong. I mean, full attention, eyes were on him, and was really direct. And I don't know. I should probably have him speak more. And so, he was on it. And, it's one of those things to where Blake has been, we've talked about guys that have gone down and come back up. And so Blake has made that journey. And so he knows, all that goes into these wins and just how hard it is to win and how much you have to sacrifice and just all of it. And I think, to be honest, I think we have some young players that learned that Saturday, and we've been trying to teach them that. And I think Blake's a great example of what it looks like. And I just know his play just motivated so many people. I mean, his words on Friday and throughout the summer were something, but his play on Saturday is a whole other thing. And I think together, just what a great leader we're having right now.
It would be different if you had lost or made a comeback and still lost, or they kicked a field goal. But does 36-35 erase the warts, the blemishes, all of that? And does that mean the players understand they got pretty fortunate, but they earned the way to come back and win the game?
Yes, yeah, it doesn't erase any of it. I think, I know we have to be way better. And just I think we were talking just a while ago about setting edges in the very first play of the game, and just those things. We cannot live that way. And right now we're living like that too much. And, it's big on us for coaches to find a way. If we keep doing these same things and we get these same results, then it's on us. And we have to find a better way to get across what we need to get across. And it could be playing different guys. It could be teaching in a different way. We're looking at all of those right now. It is a critical time. This is a critical game.
Texas Tech, Joey Maguire, lots of your former staff are with them, Baylor staff with them. Is this an awkward meeting, or is this an awkward series now?
No. I've got a lot of respect for Joey. I've got respect for the staff, their friends, and then a lot of the players I know over there too. And so, it's one of those things where I want them to do well. I want to see them be happy and have success, and they're good dudes, and I'm happy that they have an opportunity to do the things they want to do and how they want to do it and all that. Not this week, not this week.
Dave, how do you motivate with a personality that we've discussed before, which is not yell and scream and jump on stuff, and how do you think you motivate?
I appreciate that. The staff and the players have to feel that I care, and I do care, and so I have to make it be known to them that it's real, and that I see, I think when, for example, if someone does something good, generally people notice it and they say something. When someone does something bad, generally they notice it and they criticize it. So right there's the ability to see, hey, here's someone that's trying. here's someone that's taking the coaching and is trying to get something right, but is struggling with it. And in his mind, it's a tug of war of, should I just do what I want to do, or should I try to what these coaches are saying and I don't get it and all. And like, you have to pay attention to that and notice that and get to wherever that level is. And then if you can sit with that player there, then you can build him up. And then he sees that he's seen, and he's not by himself. And then I think what ends up happening is he starts playing for you because you're with him. And so that whole thing's the thing. And it takes, interest and time and all of it. But I feel like we have that on this team. And so I don't know. I've always done that, though. So it's just transferred over to now this role.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, Texas Tech on Saturday night. This is 365 Sports. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier elite life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes every week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, bar, silver sneakers, and more. If you haven't been to Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness lately, you're missing out on the improvements. New flooring in the weight room floor and locker rooms, new paint and mirrors added to the weight room and group exercise room, and many new machines have been added and arriving constantly on the weight room floor. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new ellipticals on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Box, and welcome to Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. A kids club included with your membership, plus sauna, whirlpool, and tanning bed. 16 tennis courts plus a beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman and assistant junior Kenna. Adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and the commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website at wacotennis.com or visit us at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment, and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Furno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
By the way, an update, Major League Baseball. The Rangers go into Baltimore to start a best-of-7 series against the Orioles, best-of-5 series, excuse me, and they pick up Game 1 3-2. Astros up 6-4 on Minnesota. They're in the top of the 8th in their first game of the best-of-5. Now, games tonight in the Big 12, there are, this is in the top 25. Kentucky at Georgia, that game has started. And Georgia scored, I think, on their opening drive, 5 plays, 75 yards. Michigan and Minnesota about the kick on NBC. Notre Dame, Louisville on ABC, along with Arkansas at Ole Miss. Georgia Tech at Miami. Fresno State, Wyoming. These are top 25 teams involved. Oregon State at Cal, and Arizona plays at 9th-ranked USC.
Fresno State will this year's Tulane.
Yep.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
Yep.
You know, Wyoming got off to the great start to the season as well. Beat the team that we're about to go watch here in just a little while, and gave Texas all that they wanted as well. So that ought to be an interesting game. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good schedule, and we're obviously going to be preoccupied with some of it. We're going to try to keep up as much as possible, and looking forward to just the rest of the night because they've got a lot to live up to this night slate compared to what we've been watching all day long so far.
And, of course, Texas Tech, Baylor, and TCU, Iowa State night games. We're going to be at the Baylor game just down the street from us on MLK. That game's on ESPN, too, and TCU plays in Ames. And, man, Sonny Dykes and company, they needed to win. Iowa State was throttled by Oklahoma just last week. The biggest surprise, Oklahoma State wins. None of the Kansas beating, obviously, UCF is not a surprise. Oklahoma State, when I got those updates from Craig, I was like, really? And then the great game today from earlier, it was a classic with Oklahoma beating Texas 34-30.
Yeah, UCF's got to do something about their run defense. I mean, Kansas even playing with Jason Bean, like if you don't have to throw the ball that much. And that's how Baylor was able to come back, was not really by throwing the ball. Yes, they made some good plays in the passing game with Monterey Baldwin in particular, but really it was running the ball and not breaking off of that. And so if UCF doesn't get that fixed, they're going to have kind of a roller coaster. Oklahoma State was an excellent game plan by Mike Gundy last night. Just decided, he was not going to try to do anything that they couldn't do. And just kept it within themselves and, stopped trying to make Alan Bowman, be anybody but Alan Bowman. And that's how they won that game last night. They played really tough at home.
You know that Kansas had 399 yards rushing?
Yeah, that seems low based on what UCF can give up.
I'm sorry. I thought that was total yards, and I realized, my God, they averaged 8 yards a carry. Sorry about that,
Just
Craig.
waiting for Paul to finish so I could bring that up. But, great for Kansas. Jason Bean playing and threw 12 passes the entire day because they ran for 399 yards rushing. So, UCF, they need to get the run defense fixed, but it's not happening anytime soon. And, that's just an atrocious showing in Lawrence, 400 yards of rushing. That's unbelievable. Kansas had 91 yards passing on 8 completions. 91 yards on 8 completions is all Jason Bean mustered in the passing game, and they still won handily. They were up 24-0 at halftime. I mean, that's about as low as it can get. So when you see the UCF reactions to Gus and all that, realize why they're so upset. It's not they lost to Kansas. It's not they lost and they're 3-3 and they're maybe not that used to that. It's they gave up 400 yards of rushing to a backup quarterback and couldn't even make it competitive. So, that's an awful look. And then, obviously, John Rice Plumlee starts the game and then was out very quickly, and there's a whole thing to do now between him and Timmy McClain and how that's going to work moving forward. So it's a rough deal for UCF right now, but terrific win for the Jayhawks. Terrific win for Oak. It's not a great week so far for I guess the two biggest programs in the state of Texas. Both went down in their big monster games today. The state of Oklahoma, meanwhile. Oklahoma State.
Yep.
It's a big 1-2 for them to get those two results this weekend. So, the state of Oklahoma definitely faring a bit better. But obviously, there's other programs like Tech or Baylor will get a big win tonight and possibly TCU as well.
So there we are with that. Now let's go over our thoughts about the game. Last week, I was one of the knuckleheads that thought that somehow Baylor would win the game, and they did. I was fortunately right, but for a while there I looked like a complete idiot at 35-7. Paul and Craig, and then I'll give my opinion. Your thoughts tonight, Baylor and Texas Tech kick off in about less than 40 minutes.
Yeah, the only stat that swung this game for me was Joey Maguire's not been good on the road, 1-7 since he took over there. I think Baylor's got a little juice hanging from last week, so I'll take Baylor in a very close game. Seriously, might be 1 point again this week.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that point of view. I will also counter with Baylor's not been very good at home.
Yeah.
And so something's got to give tonight for one of these teams. Somebody's either going to get a big win at home in Baylor's case, or Joey's going to get the big win on the road that have been a little bit elusive. I just don't trust Baylor yet. I don't trust them because they played a quarter plus of good football last week. I need to see way more than that, and especially you see what UCF had happen to them today, and that's the team that you're going gaga over, beaten for one stinking quarter last week.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like Tech in this game. Be more than happy to be wrong, of course, but I give them the edge. And what I do think is going to be a high-pressure, tough game for both sides.
I do think that they get momentum. I do think Baylor will start better. I think that the problem is that Texas Tech with Brooks, they can run the ball. Baylor with Reese, can he follow it up what we saw against UCF? Whoever wins the running game or most yards rushing in a game today is going to win the game. Of course, turnovers can screw that up. But I do think Baylor will be at home. I've been told that we've been kind of alerted to the fact that there's not much of a crowd. Thanks to Garrett Ross, Josh Young, Darby Brown, Craig Smoak, and Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. Good night, Game Day Live.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
For over 40 years, Hope Pregnancy Centers has championed parents facing unplanned pregnancy with crucial life-affirming resources. We are looking for 350 donors at $30 monthly to provide over 2,000 free life-revealing ultrasounds to moms and dads when it's most critical. Your support of Hope shows every woman and unborn baby that they are valued and treasured by God.
Hey folks, Derek Scott here with Jim Turner Chevrolet. I would like to thank everyone that supports the JTC family and let you know that our family values your business. Our new inventory is growing daily and used inventory is stacking high. So come find new roads at Jim Turner Chevrolet and give us the opportunity to earn your business with transparency and zero hidden fees. So give us a call, 840-3261 or 24/7 at turnerchevy.com. And remember folks, we're just a heartbeat away in McGregor. We'll treat you like family.
Central Texas Plumbing Solution is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. So when you need some help before the big game, call Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Catch News 10 This Morning Rewind right here on CW12.